Tonight, they're fabulous, they're famous, and they're in love. So how do they do it?
She's definitely a keeper.
Gloria and Emilio Estefan making beautiful music together.
Now, what I noticed right away was the charisma.
You talking about me?
Yeah, talking about you.
That's good.
What musical stars do when they're really in love.
Who does not want a man to write a song like All of Me to you?
'Cause all of me loves all of you.
But what do you give the future Queen of England?
It's my mother's engagement ring.
Or the next possible princess? From the most passionate highs
I think we were so passionately in love with each other. It was almost like everything was too much.
to the most tragic lows. The greatest celebrity love stories.
She said, no, this guy knows how to treat a woman. That was our first kiss.
Hi everybody, I'm Lara Spencer. Welcome to People Icons. Tonight we're looking at couples who aren't just famous, but famous for being in love. Their celebrity love stories may inspire you or surprise you. Whether it's the turbulent tale of Elizabeth Taylor and Richard Burton, or the hip-hop happiness of Jay-Z and Beyoncé, we'll find out how they met and kept it together. Let's start with Gloria and Emilio Estefan. I asked them for their secret to staying together.
Gloria Estefan is essentially J-Lo before J-Lo. She hit really big in the 80s, especially with songs like Get On Your Feet. And it just took MTV by storm. It took music by storm.
You can't really think of Gloria Estefan without thinking of her husband, Emilio. They brought Miami Sound Machine together and they created this sound that was like nothing else you heard on the Billboard charts at the time.
And for Gloria and Emilio Estefan, the hits keep on coming with their smash Broadway musical, On Your Feet. It's the story of their music and their 4-decade love affair. I sat down with the first couple of Latin music to talk about their everlasting love. Emilio and Gloria, I'm so happy to celebrate your love story.
Oh, me too. Long love story.
41 years. What do you want your fans to know about that bond, that 41-year bond?
That it feels like 2 seconds, first of all. Feels like it was yesterday.
I think it's better. When you know when it's real love, it's got better.
Let's go back to the beginning. 1975, you, Gloria, ran into Emilio while he was playing accordion at a wedding.
That's exactly
I
right.
mean, you must have thought, I need to have this man.
Well, now what I noticed right away was the charisma, the angel, we call it, ángel in Spanish. You could tell that he was just reveling in what he was doing, that he was loving it.
You talking about me?
Yeah, talking about you.
That's good.
But at what point could you no longer deny your feelings? You
July
couldn't
4th, 1976.
Did fireworks go off?
Majorly, it was the bicentennial, literally and figuratively. He actually lied to me.
I lied, but you know
there.
what I say? It's the 4th is my birthday. And you say, oh my God, today is your birthday. I say, well, my birthday says March 4th. So you
Yeah,
know.
well, after he turned his face, because he kept saying, give me a kiss on the cheek. And I go, no, I'll get you a present. He goes, present's fine, but just give me a kiss on the cheek. And he turned his face. Perennial old trick.
You will die.
He did it. And then he asked me out that night.
The bandmates became a couple, and while Gloria was smitten, her mother was less than enamored with Emilio.
My mom wouldn't have liked anybody. She was very protective. She loved the idea of Emilio until he actually asked me out.
She was afraid, being in the music business, I mean, she was the head of the family.
Yeah.
I said, I hope she doesn't go, drugs and alcohol.
But music and Emilio were Gloria's path to happiness and stardom. The bandmates became mates in marriage in 1978. Together they produced 9 top 10 hits on Billboard's Hot 100 and a son, Naib. Still, Emilio couldn't win over his mother-in-law. It took 12 years to
years.
win over Gloria's mother.
Yes, when I had that accident in 1990 that I broke my back.
This is World News Tonight.
Gloria Estefan of the popular musical group Miami Sound Machine suffered serious back injuries today when a truck collided with the group's bus. She's hospitalized in stable condition.
Ms. Estefan has a serious spinal injury.
I'm thankful for the miracle of being alive and able to recuperate completely. Especially my husband Emilio, who had the decency to wait till I was in the hospital before he fainted twice.
The day that happened when Gloria was having the surgery, she came by to the room and I was crying until by myself, and I think that changed definitely her.
Found him in a closet,
and then she
bawling.
came and give me a hug, was an incredible moment because I adore her. She's like my mom now.
Emilio was now family. And against all odds, after Gloria recovered from the accident, the family continued to grow.
When I had that accident, they told me first that I'd never have another baby. Then Emily, our miracle baby, they said she would never be born. She's not only born, but she's like a musical juggernaut.
Every night I need you. Which of your hits best describes you? as a
Con los
couple?
años que me quedan.
How does it go?
Well, I'll try a little bit. As you can tell, I have a bit of a cold. Con los años que me quedan, yo viviré por darte amor, borrando cada dolor con besos llenos de pasión, como te amé por vez primera.
You sound good with the cold. That's good.
Con los años que me quedan means with the years that I have left to live, I am going to prove to you how much I love you. And no matter what has happened, I'm going to prove to you that my love is true and strong and will always be there.
Oh, that's so beautiful.
Cuánto te quiero.
Tried and true love has been with Tom Hanks and Rita Wilson for nearly 3 decades.
Tom Hanks and Rita Wilson. It's a great marriage, not just because they've been married for 28 years, you know, living in Hollywood, he's a big movie star. A lot of people can't make that work.
Before the back-to-back Oscars, $4.5 billion at the box office, and the Presidential Medal of Freedom, he was a bosom buddy trying to break into movies. Young Tom Hanks hoped getting cast in the 1985 film Volunteers would change his life, and it did.
Good morning, darling.
But not in the way he expected. You mean you've just been trying to go to bed with me?
Well, I think I put in the hours, don't you?
Before meeting Rita, Tom was making a splash as an actor, but it was after their 1988 marriage that he truly catapulted to the top of the A-list, as Tom acknowledged at the 2001 Golden Globes.
I'd also like to say a special thank you to Rita Wilson Hanks, who for every day I stand at a crossroad and I see nothing but love and acceptance in every direction.
Rita's career was also in full swing, producing mega hits My Big Fat Greek Wedding and Mamma Mia. But in 2015, the Hanks family was shocked to learn Rita had breast cancer and would need to undergo a double mastectomy.
That's the time when your relationship is really tested. Rita Wilson said Tom Hanks was her rock through it all. It was till death do us part, and he took that really, really seriously.
Today, Rita is cancer-free and shouting out to the World Wide Web how after 28 years of marriage, she's still thrilled to be Tom's one and only. One couple's solution to avoid divorce in Hollywood is to never get married in the first place. We're talking, of course, about everyone's favorite not married but together forever couple, Goldie Hawn and Kurt Russell.
They played by their own rules. They have these beautiful kids. They have a really close family unit. And I think what their relationship says to the rest of us is we have to do it our way.
After meeting on the set of 1984's Swing Shift, the pair showed electric chemistry in 1987's Overboard.
Every time with you is like the first time.
After 32 years together, Kurt and Goldie are still happily unwed. Still, that doesn't stop the constant questions of when.
It's the fabulous Kurt Russell.
Like when Joy Behar jokingly harassed Kurt on The View in 2015.
Goldie husband's probably wearing a new ring.
You know what? I don't know how that happens. Every 4 or 5 years, that thing gets trotted out, and
Maybe she's hinting.
I think she's fantastic. But no, we're not. We're not getting married.
They have been together forever. They don't need a piece of paper to prove that they love each other and that they respect each other.
Speaking of not getting married, for a while the biggest, most outspoken bachelor in Hollywood was silver screen icon Warren Beatty.
Warren Beatty in the 1970s was perhaps the ultimate bachelor. I mean, you are talking about a man who seemed determined to never, ever settle down. He left no stone unturned.
In 1990, Barbara Walters asked the famous bachelor about his ladies' man reputation.
So you never married. Do you know what it is? Do you ever think about it? Is it a fear of commitment? Is it that you don't believe in marriage per se?
Oh no, I believe in marriage. I always felt that when you take those vows and you say, until death do us part, that meant until death do you part. And I've questioned whether I would be able to do that.
But just a year later, when Warren was cast opposite the stunning Annette Bening in Bugsy, he changed his tune.
The way you were staring at me, I thought you were going to ask me for something a little more exciting.
Like what?
Use your imagination.
I'm using it.
Let me know when you're finished.
But for Annette, it was just a job, at least at first.
Did any part of you say, hey, I like this man. Maybe something can happen here? No kidding.
No. She was not interested in landing Warren Beatty, and he was captivated.
But Annette tells Barbara Walters that at one point, she fell hard for Warren.
When did it change?
When we were working on the film, we fell in love.
Were you worried at all that you might be one more, leading lady syndrome?
No, I didn't think of it that way.
In March of 1992, Warren officially took himself off the market and married the only woman he wanted to spend his life with. And 25 years later, they are still happily married.
It's not surprising that Warren Beatty ultimately chose Annette Bening, because Annette Bening is just one of the coolest people on the planet.
Coming up, how does a suburban English girl become the future Queen of England? And how does a future president of the United States win a woman's heart?
I offered to buy her ice cream, and I think that is what put her over the top.
Welcome back to People Icons, Celebrity Love Stories. If it's hard for stars to keep the magic alive, just imagine what it's like when you're the leader of a country. For instance, if you're the future King of England or the President of the United States. For some famous couples, more than just their hearts are at stake. At some point, every little girl dreams of meeting a prince, falling in love, and becoming a princess. But Kate Middleton tells ITV that when she met Prince William, it didn't look like happily ever after at first.
I actually went bright red when I met you and sort of scuttled off, feeling very shy about meeting you.
What's really wonderful about the way that Prince William and Kate Middleton met is that it's so boringly normal. We met at college. We were friends first for a while. People kept saying we'd be good together. It's a courtship that is probably identical to 80% of the married population.
As the royals go, Will and Kate are a very modern couple. They actually lived together before they got married. He made it very clear that he didn't care that she was a commoner, that he was in love, and this was the woman he was going to marry.
On October 20th, 2010, Will and Kate broke the news on ITV. William even proposed with his late mother, Princess Diana's spectacular sapphire ring.
I thought it was quite nice because obviously she's not going to be around to share any of the fun and excitement of it all. this is my way of keeping her so close to it all.
On April 29th, 2011, as the world watched, the Duchess and Duke of Cambridge tied the knot in the event of the young 21st century. When the royal subjects were less than impressed with the first royal kiss, Will and Kate were more than happy to give everyone an encore.
This is a prince and princess. They could have a horse-drawn carriage take them anywhere they wanted, and instead they got into an Aston Martin convertible, William behind the wheel, and they took off on their own. I think it was a wonderful symbol of how very normal, how very down to earth they are going to try to keep things.
And as the family grows, first with Prince George and then Princess Charlotte, England and the rest of the world can't help but fall in love.
I think William and Kate make a point of being relatable. They do their own thing.
William's younger brother, Prince Harry, is also breaking with royal tradition when it comes to his love life. In 2016, word got out that Harry and Suits actress Meghan Markle were an item, and the tabloids jumped on the young couple.
The fact that he issued a statement condemning the paparazzi's treatment of his girlfriend is really groundbreaking for the royal family. It's also groundbreaking, frankly, that Harry is dating an American divorcee who is older than he is. This is radical.
Here in America, we don't have kings and queens, but we do have the first family. And for the past 8 years, that family was the Obamas.
I am Barack Obama, and this is my wife, Michelle.
Hey, I'm his date.
Not since the Kennedys have we seen such a captivating, glamorous couple in the White House.
This year, America said goodbye to the impossibly poised Barack and Michelle. But they started like most young couples, awkwardly trying to impress each other, as Barack recounts in this 2012 campaign video.
Our first date, I took her to the Art Museum and the Art Institute, and so I was trying to impress her, show her that I was, a real culturally sensitive guy, and it worked.
When Barack decided to run for the highest office in the land, Michelle wasn't so sure she was on board.
I think everybody knew going into it that I was probably the one that had most apprehension, wanting to know how would this work for the family.
If Barack Obama is commander-in-chief, Michelle Obama is commander-in-chief of the Obama family, and that has always been at the forefront of her mind, even before he assumed the presidency.
If you were ever with Barack Obama in the White House, you would see that he really does carry the weight of the world on his shoulders. And what's fascinating is when Michelle Obama walks into the room, it all goes away. He smiles. It's like he's lighter. He really loves her.
Coming up, Elizabeth Taylor and Richard Burton, their magical, messy, amazing romance.
We were so passionately in love with each other. It was almost too much.
And their magical love song.
Me loves all of you.
Welcome back to People Icons, Celebrity Love Stories. Keeping romance alive through all the strains and stresses of life isn't easy for anyone. It's even harder when you're in the spotlight. But these next celebrity couples have figured it out. He's a hip-hop entrepreneur and she's the queen bee. And together, they are unstoppable.
Jay-Z and Beyoncé are at the top of both of their games, from him with a rap career that has just spanned so many years, and with Beyoncé, the talent of the decades. She is the modern era Diana Ross.
Jay-Z met Beyoncé when she was just 18, and rumors the two were an item started almost immediately. Rumors they both denied.
One of the rules that Jay-Z and Beyoncé seem to have followed throughout their relationship is sort of like Fight Club. Like the first rule of Jay-Z and Beyoncé is do not talk about Jay-Z and Beyoncé.
But fan speculation of a superpower pairing kicked into overdrive when the Destiny's Child singer's 2003 solo debut, Crazy in Love, was in fact a duet.
Young ho, y'all know when the flow is loco. Young B and the ROC.
But Jay-Z still wouldn't kiss and tell. Not even Barbara Walters could get him to rap about Beyoncé.
What's the relationship?
She's a great person.
Oh, that's not enough. Come on.
That's when you live your life, so publicly, and you put so much through your art, you want to just not sit and talk about,
Do you think that Beyoncé is bootylicious?
She made a song about it, so I guess so.
After years of are they or aren't they, all the guessing ended on April 4th, 2008, when Jay-Z and Beyoncé tied the knot in New York City.
It wasn't until years later that she even put out video of herself in her wedding dress.
And in 2012, Beyoncé and Jay-Z announced the birth of their first child, Blue Ivy, with a song.
Jay-Z decided to put Blue Ivy onto the song Glory, which he released the day after her birth. And you just hear her little coos, and it was the sweetest thing.
Baby, I paint the sky blue. My greatest creation was you.
In February of 2017, Beyoncé doubled down and made front-page news when she posted on Instagram that she and Jay-Z were expecting twins. Just 2 weeks later, the world got another peek at her baby bump at the 2017 Grammys.
10 times out of 9, I know you're lying. But 9 times out of 10, I know you're trying, so I'm trying to be fair.
Jay-Z and Beyoncé are both masters of modern media management. There is nothing that we know about the two of them that they have not told us themselves. This is a pretty miraculous thing given all of the people who are in their universe.
Beloved comedian Ellen DeGeneres and her wife, actress Portia de Rossi, are more than just a power couple. They are an inspiration to millions of Americans.
Ellen and Portia are a groundbreaking couple. They were the very first gay wedding to appear on the cover of People. They're also very private in many ways. They don't exploit their relationship, but they also want it to be an inspiration to people. And they have walked that line and struck that balance very, very, very well.
Ellen DeGeneres, of course, now is such a beloved talk show host. But over the years, she's really made a name for herself in terms of allowing the country and the world to accept people for who they are.
Ellen played out her personal struggles on the small screen, using her sitcom character and alter ego Ellen Morgan to work through her fear of going public with her sexuality. Finally, after some teasing, Ellen busted out of the closet on this episode in 1997.
Susan, I'm gay. It's hard now to remember how big a deal coming out was back then. And that was a big moment actually in the culture.
And when I hear I make people happy, it makes me happy.
They clearly both want the same things out of this. They want each other, they want a relatively normal life with each other, but they also are aware how important their relationship is from the outside.
But when it comes to power couples, perhaps no couple was more powerful together or apart than Liz and Dick.
I heard this big roar from the crowd, and that meant only one thing.
The Burtons had arrived.
Elizabeth Taylor, who became a star at 12 years old, was famous for her scene-stealing film roles, her out-of-this-world beauty, and her insatiable appetite for men.
Elizabeth Taylor was the ultimate man-eater of her era. She was the woman who could not be tamed, but along came Richard Burton.
Married to Eddie Fisher, husband number 4 at the time, Taylor met the also married stage legend Richard Burton on the set of Cleopatra in 1962.
I want to be free of you, of wanting you, being afraid. It's easy, but not permitted.
They were immediately drawn to each other, even though both of them were married to other people. And when the news broke, the world was in an uproar. The Vatican called it erotic vacancy. Congress tried to prevent them from coming back into the country. It was crazy.
And it only got crazier. Taylor divorced Eddie Fisher in March of 1964, and 9 days later, she and Burton were married in Montreal. Known for their lavish spending, their jet-set lifestyle, and their excessive drinking, which would lead to epic shouting matches, earning them the nickname the Brawling Burtons.
You can sit around with a gin running out of your mouth. You can humiliate me. You can tear me to pieces all night. That's perfectly okay. That's all right.
You can stand it.
I cannot stand it.
You can stand it. You married me for it.
By the time they starred in Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf together, Elizabeth Taylor and Richard Burton were so synonymous with what's happening in those roles. The excessive drinking, the bitterness and ire towards one another with that still lingering shadow of a once great love. It was at times a little uncomfortable to watch.
Get your hand off me!
In the summer of 1974, they split, but couldn't stay apart. A year later, they remarried. Though this too would end in a divorce, Liz would always hold a candle for her Richard.
I think we were so passionately in love with each other. It was almost like everything was too much, but it was great.
Coming up, Blake and Gwen singing duets on and off stage. But first,
Quando sono solo e sogno all'orizzonte mancan le parole.
the tenor with the voice of an angel and the woman who loves him. Welcome back to People Icons, Celebrity Love Stories. They say that music is the language of love, and that is certainly true for these couples. First up, famous tenor Andrea Bocelli and Veronica Berti. Nothing says romance quite like the irresistible voice of Andrea Bocelli. The tenor, who lost his eyesight at age 12, has entertained countless fans around the world and sold over 85 million records. But his wife, Veronica, gets a private concert whenever she wants. Veronica met Andrea at a party, and the attraction was instantaneous.
I was next to the piano trying to see if anybody was around, and I tried to play. I'm not a great pianist. I like music. So when Andrea arrived, I had the gentleman coming to me say, "You love music, so you want to shake his hand?" And I did it. And that was it. We were together since that moment.
Believe it or not, Andrea and Veronica moved in together that night.
Posso dire che dalla mattina seguente ho avvertito che poteva essere la donna della mia vita.
And from that night on, Veronica was Andrea's partner in every way, becoming his manager and occasionally joining him on stage.
I honestly have just think that she sings very well, and her voice is very, for me, it's very sensual.
After 12 years together, Andrea and Veronica were finally married in the coastal town of Livorno, Italy, on March 21st, 2014.
We decided to keep it super, super small, which was like no more than 70 people.
Direi che è stata una cerimonia molto bella perché molto sobria, che erano lì, era un'atmosfera molto autentica, perché erano tutti amici e familiari, sono persone care.
The Bocellis rarely spend a day apart, and after 15 years, their bond is stronger than ever.
The most important thing in love is the chemistry. And I think there has been chemistry from the first moment.
He's a little bit country, and she's a little bit rock and roll. But Blake Shelton and Gwen Stefani leave no doubt they are made for one another.
They are kind of like an odd couple in a sense. She's kind of like a pop rock goddess, super glam, platinum blonde hair, edgy clothes, and jeans and a t-shirt for this guy. It was different, but they have formed a bond in learning about each other.
Like many couples, Blake and Gwen met at work.
I got the hookup.
That's so inappropriate to talk about us hooking up.
Both judges on the hit TV show, The Voice.
They both kind of found each other on the rebound, and as it turns out, it wasn't just a rebound relationship. These people both went through painful breakups, and then they found each other.
And while they are equals on stage, Blake understands he plays second fiddle to his girl when it comes to the world of Hollywood.
Blake is actually really self-deprecating, and he talks about how they go to Hollywood parties and everybody wants to see Gwen, and Gwen's the famous one, and he's just the guy with her. In fact, he's got a song out that's about being with a woman that everyone is interested in, and he's just kind of standing there holding her purse. But he doesn't mind.
I don't mind being the guy with the girl.
What happens when a swimsuit cover model marries an R&B legend? In this case, you have one of the most delightful couples ever to hit the red carpet.
I think all of us want to be with either John Legend or Chrissy Teigen, depending on where you're coming from. Can't we just go live with them? Because they seem to be having so much fun.
Couples everywhere also have John and Chrissy's romance to thank for one of the great love songs of the decade, 2013's mega hit, All of Me.
'Cause all of me loves all of you.
Who does not want a man to write a song like All of Me to you? It's so beautiful. It's so sensual. It really shows the level and the depth of John and Chrissy's relationship.
Coming up, how England's greatest soccer player fell for a Spice Girl.
If you wanna be my lover.
And how Celine Dion will go on without the love of her life.
It's not easy, but I really want to be strong.
Welcome back to People Icons, Celebrity Love Stories. Some of the greatest athletes in the world are married to some of the most beautiful and talented women in the world. I'm sure that is just a coincidence, but let's hear their stories and find out. Posh and Bax. They are the biggest British export since the Beatles.
David Beckham continues to be one of the biggest sports figures out there. Think of him as the Jordan of England. And then you have Victoria Beckham, who is one of the 5 Spice Girls that took the UK and America and everywhere else by storm with their really infectious music.
powerful, rich, gorgeous. Even the way they got together sounds like a fairy tale, except David almost dropped the ball.
He first spotted her when she was in a Spice Girls video, and he thought she was so gorgeous.
If you wanna be my lover, you gotta
And I remember saying, I like that one in the short skirt with a bob. I've got to meet her.
However, when he met her for the first time, he was a little bit shy and didn't really take any action. He just kind of waved from across the room.
To the glee of red carpet watchers worldwide, David finally got the nerve to ask Victoria out. And 2 years after that first date, the couple had son Brooklyn.
Brooklyn Joseph.
4 months later, they tied the knot in a lavish $1 million ceremony. The Beckham bunch continued to grow with sons Romeo and Cruz, and then in 2011, little sister Harper. But being in the public eye does take a toll on Victoria and David, especially when it comes to raising the kids.
I think it's very, very difficult because obviously everything they say isn't always going to be positive.
You know, it's sometimes hard to cope with, but, you know, we've got used to it now. We understand that it's part and parcel of, you know, us being famous.
After 20 years together, a move to Los Angeles and then back to London and raising a family, the Beckhams are still going strong.
You know, people that know us, people that meet us, you know, do say, you know, why do you still hold her hand? Why do you still want to kiss her? You know, the bond between us is amazing.
Chicago Cub Ben Zobrist is another baller who married a singer. And this past October, Juliana watched with the rest of the world as her husband came to bat in Game 7 of the World Series.
Zobrist stands at base hit. Cubs will take the lead. Zobrist delivers 7-6 in the 10th.
By the end of that inning, the Cubs won their first World Championship in 108 years, and Ben was named MVP.
This year's most valuable player in the World Series is Ben Zobrist. Ben, you had a great series, and as everyone remembers, a crucial hit tonight, so there's a piece of hardware for you.
Juliana is a successful Christian pop artist with her own unique sense of style. She and Ben have been married for over 10 years, but it definitely was not love at first sight.
After we met, it wasn't like instant connection. It was meet, get to know each other, misfire a little bit, like she not sure about me.
Ben, when I first met him, felt very serious. There wasn't any kind of
ulterior motive.
Yes, hidden agenda with him. But I just wasn't really looking for anything at that point in my life.
The two went their separate ways, but thanks to modern technology, they eventually reconnected.
So I had been dating somebody else, and I threw out my back in dance and broke up with this guy at the same time, and Ben emailed me on that very day.
Juliana was always kind of in the back of my mind. When I would start to try to date somebody, she would always come into my mind and thought, okay, I need to find out if this is supposed to happen or not.
And unbeknownst to me, he's planning a trip to come and surprise me for my birthday, and he shows up in Nashville, and in that moment I knew this was the guy for me. And I've said it before, but he probably could have asked me to marry him that night, and I would have said yes.
Yeah.
While they didn't get engaged that night, their relationship blossomed. And on December 17th, 2005, the two became one in front of a few hundred of their closest friends and family.
We had a big wedding.
Yeah, there were about 600 people there.
600? I thought it was like 450. It was a lot. Everybody had a blast. I think we were so excited just to start life together.
With two careers requiring constant travel, Ben and Juliana work hard to keep their family together.
From the very beginning, we weren't ignorant of the fact that the divorce rate in baseball is over 84%. So it was a deliberate decision for us to put into place a 6-day rule where we're not apart from one another for any longer than 6 days.
Ben and Juliana have even found a way to make their careers in sports and music overlap. like they did at Wrigley Field this spring.
That has always been one of our most favorite sort of world colliding moments for us, is when I'm able to stand out on a ball field and sing, and then to see him in my peripheral over there down the third baseline is pretty cool for us.
It reminds me that when I go out and do my job, it's not just me out there, it's us together, you know, and I want other people to know that we're a team.
Coming up, Celine Dion. Her love is gone, but her song goes on. Welcome back to People Icons, Celebrity Love Stories. We've been looking at couples who make romance work while living in the spotlight, but perhaps the most inspiring love story of all tonight is that of Celine Dion and her husband Renee, who shared a love that outlasted even death.
Because you loved me.
Celine Dion, one of the most beloved voices of a generation, has topped the charts for decades. And with her every step of the way was her manager and husband, Renee and Jay-Z.
Very often somebody will say that their spouse is their rock, is their everything, is the love of their life. But in Celine Dion's case, that is quite literally true. She grew up loving Renee and Jay-Z. They met when she was a very, very young girl, really not a young woman even.
When Celine was just 14, her mother made an appointment with Renee, hoping the music business veteran could help Celine start a singing career.
She came in the office with her mother, and she was singing. Her voice was like a voice of an angel. Really, I had chills. She got me.
Celine and Renee spent every moment together for years, tirelessly working in the studio and on the road. And then one night backstage, Celine tells Barbara Walters a single kiss from Renee changed everything.
I was 20 years old. After this kiss goodnight in Dublin on the lips for the first time, my whole body started to shake. And then I said to myself, well, maybe that's love. Maybe that's the thing.
Renee is 26 years older than you.
That's right.
Did it bother you then? Does it bother you now?
Never did, never will.
On December 19th, 1994, Celine's career became a family business when the two were married in Montreal. Celine was already a star, but with her 1997 Titanic hit, My Heart Will Go On, she became Queen of the World.
My heart will go
At home, Celine and Renee's family grew with the birth of their son, Renee, and after some very public fertility issues, twin boys, Nelson and Eddie, were born in 2010.
Every single facet of Celine's life involved Renee. Her professional life revolved around Renee. Her family life revolved around Renee. Her romantic life revolved around Renee. He was the center of everything she did. And so when he became critically ill, that illness also became the center of her life.
Renee had already beaten throat cancer once, and when it returned in 2015, Celine took a break from performing to care for her husband. But in January of 2016, Renee lost his battle. As per his final wishes, Celine live-streamed Renee's funeral online. Just months later, Celine told People she was doing the best she could.
It's not easy, but I really want to be strong.
At the 2016 Billboard Awards, Celine dedicated her performance of The Show Must Go On to her late husband.
Ultimately, the way Celine was able to pull through was by drawing on everything that Renee taught her for all of those decades, which is, as she says in the song that she sings in tribute to him, the show must go on.
You gotta look forward. 2 days during the year, there's nothing you can do about yesterday and tomorrow. Today is a great day.
Those are inspiring words for all of us. I hope you'll tune in next week for our next edition of People Icons. We thank you for watching. Until then, I'm Lara Spencer.